Go. Well, hey there, everybody. Rhonda Boyle here. I am a pro and evangelist member of the soar.com platform. We are a platform for coaches and people who are looking for their next coach to guide them through their life and business. And I am super excited about today's presentation. It's one I certainly personally can relate to. And if you identify as an empty nester, then you are in the right place. Chances are high that you've been investing everything in your kids and your family and their security, their finances, their soccer games and everything else. And so you've had a full and busy life. And now all of a sudden there's a void. Well, you've come to the right place to hear an amazing coach and trainer who actually specializes in this area working with empty nesters. And she has the perfect steps that you're going to need that you can take to start over, reconnect, reset, and recreate the very best you. So get ready for Ellen Sweeney. How are you doing tonight, dear?
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Rhonda. You always make me smile. You're so high energy, and I love it. I'm going to start tonight by telling my story, and you'll get to know me a little bit better. I grew up. Yeah, and it'll give you an idea of where I'm coming from and what led me to this work.
Okay.
And inspires me to coach other people. So I grew up in Two Harbors, Minnesota, in a very small town like Lake Wobegon, if you've heard of Prairie Home Companion. And I grew up in a very supportive nest or family. My parents were educated. They gave us everything we needed. They brought us to church. They did everything right. And I was the good girl in the family. I was always wanting to please my parents and meet their expectations. So I grew up and I went to college where my father went to college, and I became a nurse. And like my mother, she was a nurse. Again, the pleaser. I was the pleaser. I did take flight, however, when I graduated from college, and this was against their wishes, and I joined the Navy Nurse Corps. And I really did, like every young person, need to establish my own life. And for me, that meant going across the country. And I met my husband, who was a doctor, that was a very nice thing too. And we built a very beautiful nest for our children. I was very secure. We had a traditional family. We took good care of them. And I love this life. You know, it was perfect for me. It was everything I always wanted. I give it everything I have. Everything I have. I love being a supportive, nurturing mother and wife and balancing all of it. It was really challenging with 6 children, and we moved a lot between 6 states, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. And it was all okay. I love the challenge of balancing it all and meeting their needs, the schedules, learning who they are, giving them, lessons and sports and whatever they wanted. So, and I maintained my career part-time as a nurse. My partner was great. He was very devoted, dedicated father, prioritized the family, and we were a great team. We're doing it. We're doing this, and we're doing a great job. Marriage works well until empty nesting time.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And our children are not exactly as traditional as we were or we expected them to be. My husband and I really weren't on the same page. We're not communicating. We're not making decisions together. And we're not on the same page about launching children and how to parent them. And this is a crisis for me. This is a big crisis. So I need support. And I find support not through him, but by other people and some professional help. And one person I found support with was a male friend. This did not work well at all in my marriage, in the relationship that I had with my husband. And now the family's in crisis. So this is a big crisis in the family. I make decisions alone. I'm really frightened. I'm ashamed. I'm terrified. I'm shocked. I'm in crisis mode. And I really believe that the only decision I can make is to leave the nest and to get a divorce. So I make that decision. And though I feel invisible, like I have no voice, I am so overwhelmed that I can't see my children's pain. So when a person is in crisis, it's true. They cannot see another person's perspective. So I could only see my perspective. And the reality was the nest was blowing up. It was really blowing up. And my children were confused, angry, and hurt too. And I landed in some really big questions, which many empty nesters land in. Who am I now when I'm not in my role as a wife and mother? And what am I going to do? For me, I'm living in a garage apartment down the street from my daughter's school and told not to come to their events, unable to see them, communicate with them because they're teenagers and they have a choice and they're angry. I'm looking for work. I'm cut off from family finances. I'm devastated. I'm anxious about how I'm going to support myself. I get a broken foot, so it's really hard to find work. And I'm spending my days crying, crying, journaling, talking to friends, curled up in my grandmother's Afghan in a chair looking at the birds outside. It was really long days. So my lawyer says to me, he says, you can stay curled up in a ball in that garage apartment and watch your kids drive by and not stop by and see you. Or you can take care of yourself and get healthy. And so that when they're ready to come back to you, they have someone to come back to. So for me, that was the light bulb moment. And it was a really powerful message. And what I learned is that I have choice. And I do have choice. I didn't have choice about all the circumstances and how it unfolded. But maybe life has meaning and purpose beyond being a wife and mother and beyond the devastating experience I was in right now. I can choose to connect with that part of me anytime I want. The part of me that wants more life, that has strength and purpose and meaning. So I am applying, teaching and coaching. I'm applying the principles of life. And I am teaching transformational principles to other people to help them learn how to connect with life. And the teaching that I use is through Mary Morrissey's Life Mastery Institute, which I love. It's very holistic and helps people to really tune in to who they are and ask those big questions. So now I am and my children are all spreading our wings. We're spreading our wings. We're learning about life, about family, about how to, I like the metaphor, fly in formation, like birds leaving their nests and then they're flying. And then now we're learning to fly in formation with family and with the world. And I love to share this journey and principles that I've learned with you because you also can, by believing that it's possible to redesign your life, by deciding that you're worth it and you're going to invest yourself in the process, and by finding support. You absolutely can redesign your life, launch your children successfully, and create a life of your dreams.
I think that what you're talking about too here, Sue Ellen, is it's essential that you do those things. It's not just a wish or it'd be nice if you did that. It's really an absolute essential to your own survival that you move through. And the things that you're expressing, I think a lot of people have crisis. So it may not be you, but maybe somebody you know. Do you agree that this is a crucial time period in a lot of people's lives? I had a slightly different, a quite different experience. I homeschooled my children, and I have two. And then when they got older, and then because, when you're homeschooling, you're like there all the time, 24/7. And so when that changed, it was absolutely a clear transition in our family, and we had to kind of figure all that out. And I don't know that there was any help. Certainly, I didn't know that there was somebody out like you that could help people like that. So,
yes, it absolutely is a critical family life transition. It's defined in the literature. It's a normative event. So just like there's childhood developmental milestones, there's family developmental milestones. And launching children is one of those family developmental milestones. That is a normative event that can be critical for some people in certain situations and circumstances, and based on a lot of different conditions.
Well, I know you have 12 steps that you can help us with in redesigning our lives, and I am hanging on the seat of my chair. I want to hear them all.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. 12 steps sounds like a AA group or something. So I don't know.
Well, listen, come on, let's be real. It might be.
And there's good in that, because there's good in mutual support and knowing we're not alone, first of all.
Yes, absolutely.
Knowing we're not alone. So I sort of divided it into the 12 steps into 4 phases.
Okay.
And the first one is acceptance.
Is that a phase or a step?
A phase. So I'm going to go through the 4 phases and then I'll go through the steps. The second phase is transformation. The third phase is building your new life and relationships. And the 4th phase is becoming.
Okay, hang on. Transformation. I'm getting these down now. I hope y'all are making notes, but what's phase 3? Building?
Yes.
And then phase 4?
Is becoming.
Becoming. All right.
Yes. Becoming who you are.
Good. So let's get that step number 1, that phase 1.
Yeah. Step number 1 is recognizing this transitional phase of empty nesting is a critical point in development, affecting your family system and all individuals in your family. So
do you think we really do recognize it? I mean, or do you think we start to anticipate it and then that makes it, come in?
Yeah. Well, recognize it. I think we do recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing we don't always do is take pause, right? So recognize it, you see it.
Or feel it, probably.
Or feel it, but do you sort of mark it at, yes, this is a critical moment. This is affecting me. This is a critical moment, meaning it will affect me somehow. And it won't just affect me, it will affect everyone in my family. And that's really the first step, is recognizing it. It is a critical phase, and not only for you, which helps with the I'm not alone part of it, that you're not alone in this.
Great.
And it is a process, so it's a transition. So the second step is to pause and reflect on what is the meaning in this for me.
And that's so contrary. Ladies, does that feel like you can really do that when you're in the middle of this transition? Pause and reflect what the meaning is for you. I don't know. I don't know that I have done that. Normally I'm like, it's still thinking about the kids and the family and the everything else that's going on. I don't think I think about me.
Right. I think it's when we're raising children, when we're parenting, we really are in the habit, in the mindset of planning the next thing while we're in what we're in.
Right.
We're moving out. We're ahead of ourselves. We're always, moving to the next thing. And part of what I'm understanding is really important is really to take care of ourselves in the process is important. And pausing and reflecting and asking yourself, what does this mean to me? And in the literature talks about people coping and getting through this phase depending on what are their expectations, what's their culture, What are the things in their mind about, what mom did, what dad did, what I should be doing. I had a client the other day who was in tears because all of a sudden her kids are growing up and she felt so much regret about what she hadn't done, what she could have done better. So for her, that taking pause just brought up a lot of things, which leads to the third step, which is really, we notice these things and then we celebrate all of it. Because truly everything that's happened to us and every experience we've had has brought us to the point we are now and has contributed to the person we are now. All of it has meaning. We've learned through all of it. We've learned through our mistakes. We've learned through our successes. And all of us brings to this point now. So pause, reflect on that, and celebrate all of it. So there's what's coming up for you. Is it grief? Is it celebration? There's parents that really are celebrating. Something went viral last fall, and when a couple posed a picture on Facebook with an empty nest, and they were celebrating. It really got a lot of attention.
Yeah. My husband and I, when our oldest daughter moved out, we went in and took pictures of us with tape measures, in the room, and said we were turning it into a spa. The hot tub was going to go over here and the whatever,
Yeah.
That's not really how we were feeling, quite frankly.
So
it was a way of joking about that,
So what was behind that for you?
Just to tease her, that, hey, she's moving out. We had two pictures. We had a whole set of pictures. One of them was my husband standing by the car, packed to the gilt, to the top, and he had a BB gun. And he's like, don't make me come over there. I'm still protecting her. And then the next picture we put at the end was us like, woo! Celebrating. But the reality is that we felt like the first part, like our baby was moving. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, and I can honestly, in that, if I'm going to pause and reflect today, which of course, do you think I would do that? Any of y'all think I did that at the time? No, I can promise I didn't. But if I look at that now, I think that part of that joking, funny kind of way that we were acting was really to avoid the deeper work of the sorrow.
Yeah. And we do that. There's a lot of misconceptions.
I'm really good at it.
Grief. Yeah. And all of us. So I've done some training as a grief recovery specialist. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of myths around grief. It's a fallacy that there are stages that everyone goes through and that people have to go through them because they don't happen that way. And then we have a lot of thoughts ingrained in us about what we need to experience. Mm-hmm. I'm going to actually tell you what they are because it's important. Okay. This is important. There's myths around grief. Don't feel bad. These are messages we're given since we're a kid. Don't feel bad. Replace the loss. Grieve alone. Grief just takes time and it heals. Time heals all wounds.
Time heals all wounds, yeah.
Yeah. Be strong and be strong for others and keep busy. So, this Grief Recovery Institute is fabulous in helping people, and they've written a great book. So I would recommend this, honestly. I'm going to recommend this right now. It's called The Grief Recovery Handbook, and they've written a couple other books. But maybe we can put that in the notes by John James and Russell Friedman. Mm-hmm. So they talk about these myths and then they give you a different way of actually facing the loss and making meaning of it so you can move on. But we typically hide it or cover it up with food, with alcohol, with shopping, short-term, energy-releasing behaviors that really don't help us in the long run. And when we don't face grief, it can lead to depression. So this
and I appreciate you bringing up grief in the context of empty nesters, because really, typically, we consider grief to be associated with death, tragedy. It's not tragedy, but we can still grieve in our own way at the transition.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important to understand that part of it. So, yeah.
Right. It is. And it's something we tend to skip over. And that's, I think, the biggest piece that can lead parents into depression.
Totally
and some
agree.
of the really, really, negative consequences of not being able to make this transition as well as they could. Yeah. And celebrate the blessings. We do tend to look at the negative, our fears. Do parents not focus on their fears when they're launching children?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it is also an opportunity to just celebrate that you've gotten this kid this far,
Yes, and I haven't killed them.
Yes, not killed each other.
Right.
You've gotten this far, and there's things to celebrate about that. We all are hard on ourselves.
We are.
Yeah, so that piece is also really important, to celebrate our successes.
So those are going into phase 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and the fourth step in that is to communicate with each other, because this is not just an individual process, it's a family process. So communicate with the people in your family who are also experiencing this transition. What are your individual and collective experiences? And how can we shift this into an opportunity for something better and more fulfilling to emerge in each of our lives?
An openness.
Yeah. And it sort of helps to reframe it. Like, okay, yes, so you're identifying this is a big moment. This is a crisis. We all have different perceptions about what's going on here. Dad might be afraid about losing control and not being able to take the gun out,
Right.
Mom, has loss of her role. Kid is excited or afraid or just trying to please the parents. That's why he's going to that college. Everyone's all over the place. So coming together, like, this is what it is for me, communicating that, and then reframing it. Okay, this is a fresh start for all of us. And we can, come together by communicating. We really can only come together by communicating. So that's also a really important piece for that.
Great.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to get through that acceptance.
Something we also, that's what you said, Rhonda. I mean, I know I didn't, we push it under the rug, our feelings, we pretend we just go along, we just keep going and doing what we have to do. We buy the sheets, we, buy the things for the apartment, or figure out which classes they're going to take. We're focusing on to-dos so much.
And still to-dos for them.
Yeah, and to-dos for them. Yeah, because that's what we know when we're attached to those roles.
That's it.
Yeah. So this process kind of helps us to shift. So transformation is about making shifts in who we are and who we are in the world. So the next phase is transformation. And so step 5 is asking a big question. Like, who am I now? Starts with that. You're visioning. You're visioning for yourself. What would I love? What would I love to create in my life next? So I'm a certified dream builder coach, and this is the expertise of a transformational dream builder coach is to help you vision and envision the next phase of your life, knowing that you have a choice. And you can create something wonderful in the next phase.
And I think too, if I can say that some people, because they miss those first pages, then steps, those first steps, recognition, they don't pause, they don't recognize they're in a stage, they don't pause and reflect, they don't celebrate, they don't communicate with one another. And then all of a sudden they get to this big question, who am I now? And what would I love to create in my life? And they're like, what do you think they're going to say, ladies? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to say.
Because all of this stuff is running in the background and you're fighting with it still. You know, you're in this energy. There's a lot of energy that's created with grief, with transition. And it's stored in our bodies when we don't deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. It is the reality. So it is really important. And when we do it, we go through that first phase, we're ready for transformation. We're ready to set a new vision for our lives. We're ready to get excited. Some people are already excited. They've been sort of preparing for this launching, especially older parents. I mean, there's different studies done about who's more apt to, do well with this transition. And it might be people who are already really engaged, in their work. They have a nice balance. They have a, strong marriage. They're already planning and doing things together. So there's not as much of a role shift. There's not as much of a change in their life, when that child leaves. There's still a sense of loss, and there's not as much of an impact. But it is a big question. Like, it is still, how is this going to...
That's still a tough question, whether you're in transition or not, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do I want to be when I grow up? I'm still asking. So
yes,
when y'all
we are. Yes. Life is always seeking more, a fuller for your expression through us and calling us to grow. So it's a valuable question, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in life. Who am I? Yeah.
Love that.
And in the family context, which I'm, basing these steps in, step 6 is to regroup with your partner, your parent partner, your spouse. Communicate these role shifts. We might, dad might be saying, I'm going to go out every weekend golfing now, right? That might not
what my husband's done.
It might not fit so well with mom's vision of, we are going to now spend so much quality to get time together on the weekends.
I know, right? It's like, get out from under my feet. Go to the golf course, please. Jeannie says, I had no idea who I was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that, Jeannie, that's very, very common.
Yeah.
I think especially, since we're fully a female call tonight, would you agree that it's pretty much women who may face this more, Sue Ellen, or is that a myth?
It does tend to be more. And actually what some of the studies say is that in recent years, so contemporary society, there's more men that are experiencing it more than in the past. Men have been more involved and taken more of a role in parenting, recently than they have in the past, and they are experiencing it more. They're less likely to talk about it, but they are experiencing it more. Yeah. And it does depend, like you said, Rhonda, you were homeschooling. It was everything. For me, I had 6 of them. It was everything. It took everything. I had even forgotten what I like to eat.
Right.
I didn't cook for me. We'd go out to eat. And
so I have a confession. I quit cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when the first one grew up and went out of the house, and then the second one, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not cooking anymore. You know that question, what's for dinner? I'm like, I don't know. What are you making?
Right.
And I really, that is something that just recollection, that was about the time that when they were getting to those ages. So I guess I was like, whoo, done with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that can't come up. And you know what? It is an opportunity to start asking the questions. Start with what you know. I know I don't want to cook, and I do know I want to get outside and plant my garden. I do know that. So
the question, back to number 5 just for a second, because asking a big question, who am I now and what would I love to create in my next life? Jeannie says that she didn't know what that was. She had no idea. So she couldn't even have the regroup with spouse or parent partner then. And so some of these things that you're talking about, you really do need somebody holding your hand. You can't, going through them yourself, you're less likely to have you're more likely to struggle because you kind of don't have the camaraderie and the help processing. So.
Yeah, I do a lot of that as a dream builder coach. Is help people to clarify and define and get in touch with their dream. There's tools and ways to do that. It is starting with, what I know I love, to bake. I know I love to go to coffee with my girlfriend. So that's one thing you can do. And then celebrate, wow, I'm enjoying this. And it's okay to celebrate. You don't have to feel guilty that you're enjoying yourself either, or taking time for yourself. That happens, I think, a lot.
It does, for sure.
Yeah.
Just one question before you move on to number 7, a curiosity that I have. So you had 6 children. So did you wait for this crisis until child number 6 was ready?
That's it is an interesting question. And I have a complicated story because of the divorce. And it does happen with each child. I mean, we have a sense of loss with each child, and it's different with each child. The first child, it has a big impact. The last child has a huge impact, similar to sending them to school.
Oh, those poor little middle children.
That's true. Yeah. And I have 4 middle children, and they'll tell you their stories about how that felt to them.
I'm sure.
It's really fun now, actually, as they're launched, hearing their stories and perspective. And and you learn that what we thought they were thinking, maybe they weren't thinking that. And that's why I'm so passionate about encouraging parents to really be honest, not to like boo-hoo sob all over them. But there was a story that I was reading in a blog or something about launching, and the mother was this was actually an actress or somebody who was really, really sad about her son leaving for college, and she was crying, and she was going into the bathroom because that's in one of the myths about grief. You have to do it alone. And then because she was thinking she didn't want her son to see her sad. And then she's thinking, well, maybe it's good for him to see me sad. And then she decides to tell him, how about if we just sit on the couch and cry for a little bit? And he's like, all right. So he goes along with it. And she's sobbing on him. And he takes about probably 30 seconds, but a couple minutes, whatever. He said, I'll be upstairs, Mom.
He was over that.
Yeah.
He was done. Let me know when you pull it together, Mom.
Yeah.
That's
he was
funny.
over it. Right. So we all have our personal, unique experience, and communication is really important. That's really the message. Is that, well, first of all, self-awareness. I mean, whoever had the question, that's true. How can you communicate with someone else what you're experiencing when you're not sure, right?
Right.
And you can, in a partner relationship, you can start with, wow, this is really confusing for me. You know, what is this like for you? So just pausing even to have the conversation and opening it up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it evokes emotions when you say, wow, he won't be, you know, I won't have dirty shoes by my back door.
Right.
You know, and emotions come up.
Yeah, I'm thinking good riddance right now, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Right. So whatever type of conversation you can start with, you know, will help, and it will grow. Yeah. So step 7, any change does evoke fear. We're comfortable with what we're comfortable with. We're comfortable with what we know. And parents have a fear of letting go. A lot of that is related to, you know, the big bad world scenario. A lot of it's related to, I have been able to protect my child. That is my job. That is my role. I'm good at that, you know. I'm pretty, and we get attached. We get very attached to our roles. And they help us feel, you know, help us feel needed. So it's a loss in that. So, you know, and what does that mean? You know?
So how do we process through this change quickly? Is there a fast way?
How do we process through the change?
I'm still making sure we're into the transformation section.
Yeah, we're in the transformation. Again, it's a process. It's the first, you know, understanding what it means to you. What does this change mean to me? Identifying your fears. And we talk in Dream Builder about befriending our fears. So when we shine the light of awareness on something, it's not as scary. When we avoid things, it's scarier. You know, a dark room with a noise, it's scary. You turn the light on and you see that it's your cat, you know, then you can deal with it, right? And it's the same with our fears. We tend to avoid it because it's scary. And there's a part of us that really wants to stay safe and run away from it or push it under the rug, when it's really better for us to shine that light of awareness on it. What is this? What does it mean to me? Maybe there's other ways that I can meet that need. You know, maybe it isn't so bad. You know, maybe I will stay connected to my child. And maybe I will be able to do some things for myself that I haven't been able to do before. So, and all kinds of things complicate it. You know, children with failure to launch, children who really are not connected with what they want to do, who are confused, you know, children who engage in risky behaviors. You know, not all my children were pleasers like I was, you know, and young people are risk takers and they experiment, and that's scary. You know, so what are your resources? What are your child's resources? There's things that you can do as a parent to help your child connect with resources. There's a wonderful coach in my town who coaches young people in their process. And young people tend to be more open to talking to other support people than their parents.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So acknowledging that and not taking that personally. I mean, that's a reality. Yeah, it's not about you. It's about, you know, it's really about them and their process. And oftentimes when they're really nasty to us, it's really not about us either. It's about them. It's about them needing to be them. And them having ideas about who we think they, there's a lot of non-communication that really happens no matter how good of communicators you are in the family. Mm-hmm. Just because they are in this phase of really needing to explore who they are and cut themselves off from parents. I mean, it's an important thing for them to do. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And there are things that you can do for yourself to take care of yourself in that process. And it's helpful really just to understand that. It's about them. It's about their process. And remember that you figured it out.
I don't know if I've figured it out yet.
And it's a really helpful
step. Still working on it.
What did you want your mother and your father, to say to you, when you were their age? Yeah, I mean, some of these things that you hear and you see on the blogs and stuff, like things not to say. Are you drunk? If you're only communicating with them, and I've done that,
Uh-huh.
Oh, if you're only communicating them by text message, you communicate as much as you can, whichever way you can, when you're launching children, if you're like me. And sometimes you get responses and sometimes you don't, but there's definitely things that probably aren't a good thing to say.
I'm sure I've said them. So,
yeah. Face the fears of change and letting go. Anybody have any other questions about that? That's a tough one. It is a tough one.
Is that number 8?
That's number 7.
7. That face change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 8 is affirming relationships and connections. So meaning, first of all, remind yourself, this is your child. You are connected with that child, no matter what he's saying, she's doing, no matter how much you hear from them or not hear from them. You are their parent. You are a person. You are an important person to them. I remember my family, my parents had a really hard time with launching, partially because I had a sister that died in this phase of life. And then they really were frightened about and fearful about letting the rest of us go. And my brother ended up becoming a family therapist, and he really thought it would be a good idea to go to a family therapy session. And we were all really worked up about this, because we had a perfect family paradigm going. We had to be the perfect family. We had to look like the perfect family. And so having any conflict was like really hard to face. I remember really vividly the therapist saying, she told my mother, who was sobbing, thinking that we were all leaving her and nobody cared, which this is what we're sort of in this space. Mm-hmm. Like, you have nothing to worry about. These children clearly love you. My mom was so disconnected with that. The truth. And that's what happens with us sometimes. We get really caught up in our pain. I mean, we're in our pain. We're not seeing any good in this. But when we take a higher perspective and we say, in the whole scheme of life, this is a circle of life. This is the normal transition. Mm-hmm. And we are getting through this, and we are still family. And we have choice, and we can engage with each other and make decisions about how we're going to move forward. And it starts by affirming that, we are solid. And that's a lot of the young person's fears is also, how do we stay connected, and how can I still be my own person? They do want to be connected, but they don't want the same micromanagement style parenting that we are used to, when they're teenagers and they're minors, and we are responsible. We're responsible legally, emotionally, we're responsible.
Mm-hmm.
When they leave, there's a big shift in that, and it's hard to let go. So letting go and affirming that we are connected. We are still here for you. I'm here for a hug, for whatever you need, you tell me. In some literature about changing roles of parenting, it talks about moving into the role of consultant. They're more likely to come to you as a consultant when you're giving them the message, I know you're going to do this, you're going to figure it out, but please remember, I'm always here for you.
Mm-hmm. I had one of my daughters reached out to my husband the other day as a resource and to ask him to help her with her taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So she's married, gone, moved away, and now she's like, Dad, can you help us figure this whole tax thing? So if you do let them figure it out, they will come back around and start to ask you things that, where they value.
Mm-hmm.
You'll start to see where they value you.
Yeah.
And where they still need you.
Yeah. They do. They do.
It's just different.
It is different, and it feels different. And part of it is us like reminding ourselves to hold back, and giving them that freedom to make mistakes and make their own decisions like we did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy, and it's really important in maintaining that connection and not pushing them away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, affirming it by a text message, every once in a while. That's all, they don't really want to hear about, they might really not want to hear about how you're redesigning your life.
I know, and that's just the thing I want to share with them, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're used to them being here in the kitchen, and you can talk, and they can, sort of listen, and it's nice to have somebody listening. But when they're busy creating their life, that's not probably a conversation they're going to engage in a long time. Mm-hmm. Maybe. But if it is, it's sort of like a treat, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So that's important to stay solid, with that and communicating that. So then moving into the third phase, which is building futures and relationship, step 9 is to begin to create this life beyond raising your children. So taking steps, taking action. You have a vision of what you'd like to do. Start that painting class. Take those hikes. Get the dog. Whatever it is that you have been thinking about for a long time, or, what kind of bubbles up in you that would be life-giving for you, that that you would love. So you create this life, and you build it, and you build on it. It's taking action steps. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Step 10 is establishing healthy adult relationships with emerging adult children. So how do you establish healthy relationships with them? Again, it's more of a consultant. Healthy relationships are built on trust and respect.
Tell me number 10 again.
Establishing healthy adult relationships with your emerging adult children. Relationships are where we grow the most, and they tend to be the realm of our life that really is the most challenging and the most important. I mean, when we lay our head down on the pillow the last time, it's about relationships.
Always. Mm-hmm.
And we can always learn more. There's amazing resources in how can I have a healthy relationship,
And I
with,
think the more quickly you establish your child as the authority in their own life, the
Mhm.
sooner they come back to you to build that adult relationship.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
been my experience. The sooner that I can let them figure it out,
Mhm.
the faster,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
faster things change. So,
Yeah, and it's built on that trust and believing. So I've been starting to ask young people, what do they need from parents? And mostly I need to hear them tell me they believe in me and they trust me. I particularly, the one that I had the most difficulty launching was the one that I had the most fear around. And it was related to, risky behaviors, but it was my fear.
Right. And you were owning his behavior or her.
Yeah. And I got caught up in that fear, and that was really detrimental. It was detrimental to me,
Been there,
him, to our relationship, to his launching, because I'm taking responsibility for now because I'm in retrospect. I stayed stuck in my fear, which didn't allow me to have a healthy relationship with him. So if you're finding yourself there, it is really important to take responsibility for that. And so you can move to trust and respect. I mean, even if you don't agree with them, respect that they do have the choices. It is their choice. And they're not going to make the same choices you might have made.
I can probably guarantee you that they won't, but anyway.
Yeah, they're not going to. I remember thinking, one time when my son was in high school, like, you're here, you want to go here. In my perspective, see, this is the way to do it, right? There's a straight path here. Why do you have to go here, then here, then here, then here, then here?
How many of you have asked the same questions about one of your children?
Yeah. And they're just not. They're gonna figure it out themselves. So having a healthy relationship means that you respect that. You give them that. You give them that freedom. And I mean, and the launching, the empty nest thing, and when you consider baby birds leaving the nest, it's a great metaphor. Because they have to learn to fly. And it's a natural thing. So that's another helpful message. It's a natural thing to learn to fly. It's an unnatural thing for a baby bird to fall and crash on the ground. And it's the same with our kids. It's a natural thing for them to progress in their life, to want to be independent, to want to own it, to want to find their passion and purpose and follow their dreams. It's a natural thing. Our job is really to support them in that. And to get out of our fear and to give them the trust and the respect that they need to do it. So then I go into step 11, which is again another communication piece. To communicate, who are we as a family? You're redefining and redesigning your family. Okay, so we're not around the supper table, we're not going to, grandma's every Sunday or whatever routines that we enjoyed in the past and helped us connect and define us as a family. So brainstorm. How would we like to spend time together? Wouldn't this be lovely if we really did this?
Yeah,
What?
you can start new traditions with your family. You know, and I think it prepares you for when they take on a spouse, because, you know, all of a sudden the Christmas tradition, now you've got one kid missing because his wife wants to go to their mama's, you know, and you have to kind of prepare yourself for that. And what are you going to do?
Yeah. And then it does require flexibility. And, you know, it's important to examine, what are my expectations? And is that something that everyone is going to serve everyone? It might not serve everyone to have the expectation that they're going to all come home for Thanksgiving. You know, that expectation might cause a lot of pain.
Somewhere, and getting prepared for that, for sure.
Yeah, and when you look beyond, you know, the form of what you're asking for, like all together for Thanksgiving, to the need that it's serving, the need is connection. The need is, you know, shared experience and connection and relationship. So you can meet that need in a different way when you let go of a particular strategy for meeting that need.
It doesn't have to be the way it always was.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't. Maybe we can get creative around this. You know, so coming together, like, and really, you know, communicating, it really is about, you are important to me. This is what it's about. You're important to me. You matter to me. My relationship with you matters to me. And how can we stay connected? I understand. You have friends, you want to go skiing. You know, I understand. And how can I, you know, how can we still connect and find time? Yeah. Part of this is setting boundaries. I mean, there's things we haven't really talked about, is about, you know, deciding also what you're going to give in terms of your time, your money, your energy, your resources. And that's part of a healthy adult relationship. That's really where that fits in. A healthy adult relationship isn't, you know, where you're opening up your pocketbook and being the rescuer every time, and that's your role. I mean, that's a different role. If you choose that, you just understand you are choosing that.
Right.
You know, and ask yourself, is this really what I want to do? You know, is this good for me? Is this really the best for my child? You know, sometimes it is. Sometimes they really need that kind of help. But just understand that you are making a decision about that, and it is a choice, and it isn't going to make or break your relationship to change your habits around that. They might get mad for a while, but a healthy relationship does mean that people aren't always happy with each other.
Right.
A healthy relationship means you're real and you're willing to communicate about that honestly.
Yeah.
And step 12, and in the last phase, it's really who we're becoming in the process. You know, who do you want to be as a person? Who do you want to be in relationship with your spouse or your partner? And who do you want to be in relationship with your children? And who do you want to be in relationship with the world? You know, what do you want to be, do, and can give to the world? Yeah, knowing you have more to give, you know, after I value motherhood and parenthood as like the most valuable contribution that we can give in the world. And I think that's partly why it's so hard to let it go.
Sure. I totally agree.
And
At some points in the raising of them, you feel like it's never going to end. You know, you guys know what I'm saying, right? You had the transition with the diapers, and then you get to the twos, and then you get through school and all of these transitions, you know, and there's certain times where you're like, I'm always going to be doing this. And then all of a sudden you're at that place where you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next?
Yeah. Yeah. It can be overwhelming. It really can feel overwhelming. Another metaphor that I used when I was like really in crisis around this was like, you know how a boat goes really fast in the water and it has this big weight behind it? Like it's going really fast. And if it stops, this weight kind of just like
comes over the boat a little bit.
Over the boat. It felt like that for me because we were going so fast, you know, with our lifestyle and the 6 children and moving, and you know, it felt like transition after transition after transition. It was like this momentum that was like tremendous, and then have it stop. It was like whoosh.
All of a sudden.
Yeah. So what does it feel like to you? You know, that was my experience. And if you are really, really suffering, you know, with depression, I mean, signs of depression, like you can't sleep, you can't stop crying, you're really blank in your mind about what you can do, then really seek help. You know, seek help for that, because before it gets really serious.
Yeah, because it can, for some people, it can get really, really into some situations. So,
yeah.
Well, I, for one, am glad, Sue Ellen Sweeney, that you are out there helping people transition into this new design of their lives after child raising and when you're facing that empty nester. So
yeah, thank you. And it really is just the beginning. This is sort of an like overview of the process to help you understand, you know, what you're experiencing, and to give you some sense of believing that it's possible to redesign your life. And, you know, what I do as a coach is to really do that process with people, is coach them in the process of redesigning their life. Yeah. And just know that this is a critical moment. It is also an opportunity to create something that's really going to be amazing for the next chapter.
Amazing. And I know everybody wants a great chapter, next chapter. So now I understand that you have a strategy session that you wanted to offer anyone who wants to take advantage of that.
I do.
How do they reach you? I mean, it's a free strategy session. If any of you are in this space, about to go through this space, want to look at your life through this, then I would encourage you to reach out to Sue Ellen. And so are we going to go through your SOAR platform, or did you have a link?
I have a website with, and actually my Facebook has a button on it.
Okay.
So if you find me, you can find me at Sue Ellen Life Coach on Facebook, or if you do Soar with Heart is my Facebook URL too. So you can get there either with Sue Ellen Life Coach search in the search for Facebook.
Okay.
Or SOAR, SOAR with Heart. And there's a button that says Learn More. And you can schedule a strategy session or give me your information, or you could message me through there. And you could message me through or contact me through soar.com too.
Yeah, so that's
we're excited about what SOAR is doing too.
I know, it's exciting. So it's soar.com. Is it Sue Ellen or Sue Ellen Sweeney?
Probably Sue Ellen Sweeney.
Okay.
I don't know. I click the buttons and it comes up.
Well, I want to click over there and see if that takes us to your page.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. So I wonder what could it be under? It's not Sue Ellen Sweeney. Could it be under your Sue Ellen for Hope?
No, it wouldn't be. It would be either Sue Ellen or Sue Ellen Sweeney.
Okay, try the Sue Ellen. And we'll send that. I'll send the proper link out in the replay for those of you who want to reach out to Sue Ellen. And you can find her on Facebook and at her, tell me what your website again is.
It's long. It's SueEllenSweeney.lifemasteryconsultant.com.
Goodness. Lifemasteryconsultant.com. Sue Ellen Sweeney.
Right.
There you go. And I think I got the right one. Is that right?
So if you get it, yes, I'd love to talk to each one of you, and I offer a complimentary strategy session to help you look at where I am right now, where I'd really love to be. It's a fun, visioning, interactive, engaging process, and then give you some steps.
Awesome.
Redesigning your life.
You bet. So if you guys have any questions, or as I said before, if you're in this transition space, be sure to reach out to Sue Ellen. She is one of the amazing coaches on the platform, soar.com. And so we would love to be able to help you in any area of your life and transition. So do you guys have any questions for Sue Ellen before we let you go? Just want to make sure that we've got everything answered for you. And we sure are glad that you came in to hang out with us, aren't we?
Yes, definitely.
Ma'am. Yeah, what great information. I, for one, had to kind of ponder and relive some of this.
Yeah, I would love to hear any feedback too. I would really like to make this better for anybody who's listening, and really provide some golden nuggets for you to take with you. So I appreciate any feedback.
Yeah, thank you. All right, you guys, appreciate you being here, and I will get the recording out, and we are grateful that you joined us, and you can find us and more great events at events.soar.com. So stay tuned at the great things we've got going on at SOAR, and we will see you next time, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.